Hey, what's up, guys? It's your old pal CHH. We're back here today with the MVD Rewind Collection 4K release of Swamp Thing. Wes Craven. Yeah. You know, it's interesting when you look at Wes Craven, a couple titles typically come to mind. Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street. Swamp Thing is not necessarily the top of the conversation, but it's usually always in the conversation. So this was ripe to get a revisit from me because, quite frankly, it had been some time. You know, I've also fell in love with that sequel, Return of Swamp Thing. But we've talked about that before in the past. That was a really nice release. This one, man, MVD put this out, and it was somewhat of a surprise. You know, MVD is this really great company, and it seems like they're really starting to get some really good footing in the physical media market. And I couldn't be happier, quite frankly, because a release like this just sent me over the moon. So let's just kind of get into this. With Swamp Thing, you know, one thing that I always wanted was that uncut version, if you will. It's not really uncut, it's just longer. It's got more nudity and a little bit more gore in it. And 88 Films put out a version of that release, but Scream Factory did not when they put out their Blu-ray. So I was bummed out about that. Because, you know, all us dudes, we love Adrienne Barbeau. And women, too, quite frankly. And there was a scene of her bathing in the swamp, which is kind of creepy to think about because it's like, I'm thinking, if you're in a swamp, gators, snakes can get you. But it was this legendary scene I'd hear about. And, you know, I wanted to see it, of course. And I finally really got to officially, because MVD did a great job. Now, this release has the 4K uncut and, you know, shorter cut version on here. So both cuts are on here, which is something that's interesting because we're seeing other companies do this thing where you only get maybe one cut, usually the theatrical and a 4K release, where the others will be kind of like upscaled or not the 4K UHD. This one you get both, you know. So of course I watched the uncut version of Swamp Thing, and I gotta be honest with you, like this movie, I watched it I revisited at a perfect time. This is that perfect kind of movie to kind of prep you for Halloween time, and I really liked it. And you know, the guy that, you know, Ray Wise, I believe is the actor's name, who turns into the Swamp Thing, does a great job. And I really like the atmosphere. You can really feel the humidity in Swamp Thing. And, you know, what really blew me away was hearing the music. There's so much familiarity with it the second you hear it, because you realize, oh my God, that's Harry Manfredini's score to Swamp Thing. So that was really nice. You know, I was kind of worried that seeing something like this in 4K would kind of make the effects look hokey and cheesy. And quite frankly, like, you can see the suits, and you can almost see a little bit of rubberization, like, against, like, the side of the knees and stuff when the actors are moving around and things like that. But this is a really good, charming film. It's one of those movies that, like, when you see this unrated version, it's certainly better, and it pushes the envelope some, but it's something about this makes me feel like the kid watching that movie late at night that I shouldn't be. But it's got that whimsical nature to it. It was really nice revisiting Swamp Thing, and this MVD 4K release is incredible. I actually really enjoyed revisiting Swamp Thing, and while I've been boasting that I prefer Return of Swamp Thing, I gotta be honest, I like this movie a lot. I think Swamp Thing is a really fun movie, and it's interesting when you think about Wes Craven, it's like, at first when I heard about this, it's like Wes Craven, Swamp Thing, but you can feel the Wes Cravenisms all throughout this movie. There's a lot of heart to Swamp Thing, and I think it's a good Wes Craven film for sure. But when we talk about this release, I was super excited. So MVD did this, and when I looked at this release, I was like, why does this look like a CED? Am I going crazy? Because I see the tab right there, and I was like, okay. You take the slipcover off, and then I was looking at the front cover and everything, and I was like, this just looks cool. Laser Vision collection, like Laserdisc and stuff like that. And sure enough, there's a poster in here, and I couldn't believe it. I was over the moon with this. It's a mini poster that is a CED. Like, this is the tab for a CED and everything. If I can hold on to it, it's the tab for a CED and everything, and it's a literal poster CED version of Swamp Thing. That is remarkable. That is a collector's touch with an old school approach that I really like. Laser Vision collection 4K, out of this world. This is incredible. This is the exact, and look at the discs. This looks like the VHS label right there. I'm just so I'm thrilled with this. I'm just thrilled. This looks so cool. What a hell of a release. And there's no reversible artwork, but quite frankly, not that there needs to be. Sometimes, yeah, it is nice to have nice artwork, new artwork, but sometimes you realize you can't beat the classics. And I just love this. It's got the circular art, just like a CED. It's incredible, because I own some CEDs, and I noticed that. So I'm going to have to give this release, guys, 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up. And, quite frankly, the 4K scan was sensational. I mean, this movie looked so good. I'd never seen Swamp Thing look this good before because I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray and I was just like, good God. Like, this is a jump. And it was so nice. And a lot of the movie's outdoors, too. So the film, I always feel like film can really shine in sunlight, outdoors, and my God. Just looked incredible. It's a charming, good film. I really enjoyed watching Swamp Thing. And this 4K, this is the last release you'll ever need of this film, honestly. And it's a home run. And with a tribute to the past and everything. And I'm just totally happy with this. I really am. I mean, I'm just genuinely happy. And this was a perfect time for me to watch this, to get prepping for Halloween time. Kind of that crossover film, it feels like. So, guys, I mean, this MVD 4K release of Swamp Thing is a 2 big thumbs up. And we'll talk about the special features. There were some really great interviews. Yeah, guys, just to reiterate, you're getting the PG version and the unrated international cut, both in 4K UHD with Dolby Vision. You're getting commentaries with Wes Craven, commentaries with William Munns, interviews with actress Adrienne Barbeau, which is great, and Reggie Bates. The Swamp Thing with Len Wein, the creator of Swamp Thing. You know, you're getting featurettes, all kinds of great stuff. But the interesting thing I want to say right now, if you want to watch the movie with the commentaries, even on the 4K, you can only watch the 4K version with the commentaries for the theatrical version. If you try to do the unrated version on the 4K, it's not going to play the commentaries, obviously, because that's not what they did the commentaries to. So keep that in mind. But there's great interviews with Adrian and other actors, and just a really nice release. It's a very prestige collector's version of this film, and I'm just super happy with this. Swamp Thing. I definitely say pick it up, guys. There it is. Great job, MVD. You guys nailed it. Nobody else could have done a better job than you, in my opinion, on this. You did exactly. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I like in terms of like what I would like for a collection stuff. Like really, I'm a really big fan of the old school formats, and the appreciation to detail for going old school like that and making a CED poster is remarkable. So I would love if MVD got their hands on even more properties to do cool stuff like that. I know Ghoulies is coming up, and I got really high hopes for that too. So there it is, guys. Super happy with the Swamp Thing 4K from MVD. Highly recommend picking it up. Even if you're a moderate fan, I think you'll get a ton of enjoyment out of it. So there you go, guys. CHH signing off. Definitely pick that up. Great release. Good job, MVD. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.